Hello there. For the past couple of years, my goal has been to earn a PhD in clinical psychology and become a military psychologist through the Army's Health Profession Scholarship Program, the HPSP for short. However, some of my recent reading, Tom Wolfe's The Right Stuff, among a number of memoirs from soldiers in Korea and Vietnam, have led me to a realization. In the military, the medical system is dangerous, that psychological evaluations and medical evaluations can lead to changes in a soldier's career, that I will likely be dealing with, or would likely be dealing with, people who believe their best interest is not to tell me everything, not to tell the truth. And I've started to wonder, I was never set on becoming a clinical psychologist, just that it seemed the best way to help people I cared about, people who are risking a whole awful lot to make sure that we enjoy the freedoms we have. And so I started looking elsewhere. And I've realized that perhaps joining the military instead gives me a better opportunity to help those people than if I were on the medical side of the military. And so I've started looking at the different units, and based on what I've liked and disliked in my work in the past, I've realized I really wanted a close-knit group of people who are there for each other, stick together, and know exactly what the others are going to do. And one of the units that jumped out at me was the Ranger Regiment. And I've decided that over the summer, I'm going to try out a couple of health goals for two reasons. The first reason is that I was in all right shape the summer before graduate school began. However, I quickly realized that graduate school required a whole lot of effort and that there were a lot of things to juggle, and I've done enough sleep research to know you don't ditch sleep, so I ditched physical activity. And so my physical fitness went down the drain throughout the semester, and I'd like to get that back. The second reason is that regardless of which path I choose, whether it's the HPSP or joining the military and trying to get into the Ranger Regiment, I'm going to have to be able to pass physical standards. Now, it would make the most sense to begin with the physical fitness test you need to graduate basic training. However, I don't have all of the equipment to simulate that physical fitness test. I don't have a deadlift bar, and so I don't want to substitute something else in for that. So I've decided I would go ahead and use the Ranger Assessment and Selection Program, so the RASP sort of pre-assessment, as my benchmark from which to set my goals for the summer. So based on the research I've done on the Army's website, there are a couple of different things. It begins with there will be push-ups. So you need to be able to do, I believe it was 53 push-ups. I assume that's in 2 minutes. And it needs to be continuous. So we'll bring push-ups in. You also need to be able to do sit-ups. I believe the number is 63. You need to be able to run 2 miles in 14 minutes, 30 seconds. So it's about a 7-minute, 15-second mile pace. A good bit quicker than I can run right now at maybe 8-minute mile for 1 mile. So I need to build a fair bit of endurance and a little bit of speed. Next, I'll need to be able to complete 4 pull-ups. I'm pretty close to that already, so that shouldn't be too bad. And then you need a 6-mile Ruck March, which is essentially sort of a quick walk carrying 35 pounds and a weapon. Since I don't have a weapon, and I don't think it would make a whole lot of sense to get one to carry around, I'll stick to just adding more weight to the ruck. So, what my goals are? Well, my understanding is that those are minimum scores, and barely passing is not a way to do anything. So, I'm going to build in a little bit of leeway, a little bit of buffer zone into those goals. So, I'm going to say, at the end of the summer, I'm going to do 70 push-ups, again in those 2 minutes. Let's go with 80 sit-ups. For the 2 miles, I'm not much of a runner, so I'm not entirely sure what a reasonable goal is. So I'm going to go with 12 to 13 minutes for the 2 miles. That's somewhere between a 6 and 6.5 minute mile. I think that's reasonable. It gives me a little bit of buffer room. For the pull-ups, I'm going to go for 10. I think that's a nice round number, and I've been able to hit that in the past when I worked on a health goal in a health psychology class I was a teaching assistant in. So I'll be able to at least get back to where I was about a year ago. And then for the Ruck March, the closest I've done is a 5-mile run, and that was in right about 60 minutes. So I think I'm going to break this into 2 goals. The first is I'm going to have that 5-mile run, and I'm going to try and bring that down to about 40 minutes. That'll sort of be my endurance bit. And then for rucking, since that'll be a little bit more difficult to work into a schedule and to get all the equipment together, I'm going to try to do that a little bit less frequently and build the ability to do that through running instead of through carrying a whole lot of weight. But when it comes down to it, I'm going to try and do that in about 75 minutes instead of 90. That way I have a great big gap there, because my understanding is that comes at the end of the assessment, and I definitely want to have a lot of buffer for something that comes right at the end when you're already tired from all the other events. And so there you go. Those are the goals I'm going to attempt to pursue this summer. I'm going to go ahead and chronicle my progress here to see how things work out for me. I'd encourage you that regardless of what your fitness goals are, that you pick something and you find the time, make the time for fitness this summer. It's like sleep. It's important for you, and you shouldn't drop it, but we all too often do. So, until next time, cheers.